At the halfway mark of the 2016 Shannons Nationals, the intensity of Australia's two quickest categories is set to go up a few notches. Outright lap records are under threat in Australian Formula 3 thanks to a brand new track surface. While the Australian sports racers debut a brand new car, they're always exciting mix of sports car racing. This is the Shannons Nationals. Hi everybody, welcome to Winton Motor Raceway. We're a couple of hours north of Melbourne in the Kelly country. It's a famous part of Victoria. We're not far from the ski fields and it's pretty cold here this weekend, but a clear day has dawned for round 3 of the Shannons Motor Racing Nationals. I'm Richard Crowe, with me Renato Liberto to talk you through the Australian Formula 3 Premier Series today. This is a good little open wheel track, Renato.
Absolutely. Last time at Phillip Isle, they would have been dialling a lot of the aero out. Now they're going to be dialling it back in. You've got to be much more aggressive in these cars as well.
Tim Macro leads the championship heading into this round in front of Chris Anthony, Trent Shervington, the ever-improving McGill driver, and the unlucky Queenslander Roland Leake, who's had a really tough weekend. And in the Formula 3 national class, it's Cameron Shields leading the way over Nathan Kumar. Well, the humble racing car steering wheel has come a long way from just being an object to steer a car around a racetrack. Largely thanks to the ongoing evolution in technology flowing down from Formula 1, a great deal of development has seen the modern day wheel become a highly integral part of a race car, especially in Formula 3.
Now, first things first, to get in the car, you actually need to release the steering wheel. We have a coupling that is onto the steering column and the steering actually comes off. So you actually need to pull that back to actually get into the cockpit. It's quite a tight fit, so you won't actually get into the car without pulling the steering wheel off. Now you'll notice behind the steering wheel we actually have a little paddle. Now that's not for gear change. What that actually is to cut the spark of the car to allow us to change the gear. We still have a gear stick down here in the cockpit, so you pull that lever at the same time as pulling the gear stick. That is actually worth half a second a lap to us around here at Winton, and is really important that it's working properly. Now you'll notice at the front you'll see that we actually have a colour display. Now at the bottom of the display we actually have revs, we have lap and speed. So if I do need to come into the pits, you can actually see what speed we're doing. Plus up the top we have what gear I'm in and also my lap time. We need to know what gear I'm in because it's a sequential box, it's not a H pattern. So that's an important one there. So that's my race page. Up the top here we actually have change lights. So that's what I'm usually keeping an eye on as I'm going around. And that's how I judge when to change gear. Now I can flick through different pages as we're going through here on the Bosch system. I have different pages for practice, for warm-up of the car as well, which shows all parameters of the car. So you can see there I have my battery, I have throttle position, I have oil pressure, plus also I have pressure, fuel and temperature of the engine as well.
Well, it's busy enough for racing car drivers behind the wheel, but they also have to deal with pages and pages of information on their steering wheels as well. Did you learn something from that one, Renato?
I did actually, Krause, and you know what Tim sort of spoke through there, on a track that's as fast and as demanding as this in these cars, you probably don't have a huge amount of time to look over that as you're driving, but at the same time, he showed us the lights, and it's a very simple system they have in place, so great setup.
Reverse top 4, the starting position from the race 1 results. That race was won by Tim Macro in front of Christopher Anthony, but it means Nathan Kumar starts from pole in the Artec Motorsport 07 Dallara. Wait for the red lights to disappear. We go racing at Winton. Slow start, in fact a stall from Chris Anthony. Championship contender goes nowhere. He's got a lot of work to do now.
Got the car refired very quickly, it seems, there, and back on the pace. It's important to catch up to the group in front, not lose off the back of them, so you can get the cheap toe if you need down the back straight.
Here's Macro, Cameron Shields, just in front of the McDonald's Gilmore racing car. Into turn 4 they go. Cool ambient conditions and a big grab of opposite lock for Macro, battling with rear tyre temperature, struggling to get the car straight out of turn 4. Kumar leads them up into the change of direction, with young Shields behind him.
You can see them all ducking to the inside there, trying to do that classic overtake, show the nose and get through. We'll actually get it done around the outside here. Great move by Tim. Super committed, as you say, on the colder tyre. You can even see there the lack of adhesion flag out as well. So a little bit to work with in terms of tyre temp and also track condition. But these guys are doing a great job so far.
Did you see the front wheels on Tim Macro's Alpine Motorsport Dallara just feeding some lock-in, trying to find the grip level as he went around the outside there? Really interesting to watch. He's had a great run now on Cameron Shields. Young Queenslander is under attack from the double champ, and he goes through down the inside at 11 and moves himself to the race lead. And important now that Chris Anthony gets past his young teammate so he can go out in pursuit of Tim Macro.
It's interesting what you said before about Tim's hands. You can see the wheel of the car moving as well. These cars being so light and obviously in these cool conditions, the mechanical grip's quite low, so they've got the wings that you can see on the front and rear of the car, which at mid to high speed corners stick the car down like glue, but in the lower speed corners, the driver has to try and generate a bit of grip in the old fashioned way of throwing weight over the front under brakes and powering down at the rear, and you really do have to muscle the cars around some of these slower corners.
Mentioned at the top that this is so different to Phillip Island, where the last round of the championship was, where they were trimming the cars out, getting all of the aero and drag out of the cars. This is entirely different because they're just spending their entire race weekend not only looking for ultimate grip, but the balance as well, and tuning between the front and rear wings to try and get a balance between under and oversteer in these cars. So change of position there as Anthony goes past and takes Roland Legg with him. Cameron Shields now back to 4th place. And the now championship contenders are 1, 2 and 3. Let's see what Chris Anthony can do in his pursuit of Tim Macro.
You could see what looked like a bit of a whirl or something spraying up there. It's just dust. The cars have got quite a strong aerodynamic package underneath as well in a diffuser. That creates a vacuum effect, effectively sucking the car down to the road, and at the same time pulls up a lot of the dirt and grass and so on off the edges. So a very classic thing to see here, especially with the way the sun was catching that as well.
Shields really catching Roland Legg very, very quickly. We go by. A couple of young Queenslanders side by side. Legg commits around the outside, but he really struggled for straight line speed there.
It could have been a case of, as Tim mentioned before, with the throttle cut or the ignition cut on the gear change, it may have been halfway between what we call a false neutral between two gears. Might have taken him a little bit to re-grab a gear, but by that time he's lost all of this momentum against Shields, and you've got to try and recover.
So have a listen to Chris Anthony. Pop the clutch and stalled. Quick to get the car refired though. And was quick to get underway and ultimately didn't leave that much time on the table. Here's Roland Legg.
Big difference there, you can see from standing start to obviously getting a clean getaway. And great job there by the volunteer marshals as well to get that yellow flag out instantly as the car stalled. Great attention by them, but also that's what tells the other drivers on the grid, hey, there's a car stopped in front. So great job by them.
Legg's start wasn't brilliant, but it wasn't bad. It's certainly better than Anthony's, but he's now P2 and chasing Tim Macro. Through 10. Looked like he struggled to get the car into the corner a little bit, Renato. Maybe a little understeer in this McDonald's Gilmore Racing car. A bit better there at turn 11.
What you have to try and cater for in the setup of the car as well is that mid-speed corner, whereas that turn 8 there, turn 9, it's probably that speed where you're on the edge of that mechanical grip and the edge of the aero grip, and you've got to probably overcommit to the corner with speed to get the wings working, to get the grip there.
He's certainly pressing hard, trying to reduce the margin to Tim Macro. Here's Roland Legg, youngster from Mackay. Clear in front of Cameron Shields in the second McDonald's Gilmore Racing car. Young Cameron from Toowoomba. I don't know what's in the water up there, but there's plenty of great racing car drivers have come from that part of Queensland. One W Power springs to mind, but Jordan Lloyd, who's a graduate of Australian Formula Ford from a couple of years ago, and F4 last year, now over in the States running USF 2000 and doing a very nice job. He's another Toowoomba graduate. And Mark and Heidi Ward up there, the McDonald's licensees, put a lot of time, energy and commitment into this Gilmore Racing outfit to bring these young, talented drivers through. Ben Jerzakowski, another, as we see Nathan Kumar spun the exit of turn 3. He's able to get that car refined though.
You can see there the hands on the wheel. That's full lock. That's as much steering as you've got available to you. No sort of single turns there. Yeah, very quick rotation. Probably a combination of tyre temperature and the bumps there. Just, nip the rear tyres up and you're going to go around very, very quickly. And that curb certainly doesn't help once the car's halfway out across it. You're sort of beached.
He was lucky to get that car refired. Generally, after a couple of attempts, they'll run out of juice and the car will be stranded. They don't carry an alternator on Formula 3 cars. So you can fire it a couple of times, but if it doesn't catch, you'll be out of battery and the car will be stranded. Wow, he's pushing hard, the leader, Tim Macro, on the change of direction through turn 5, which is just about flat on new Kumho tyres in these cars at 200k. It's an awesome corner. And the change of direction into turn 6, awesome commitment.
Yeah, very, very fast. And then you saw the car moving around a little bit. inside the car, the driver would certainly feel that, but Tim would know with that amount of road speed in the car, the airspeed over the wings would really be sticking that car down. Looks quite aggressive from the outside, but it's quite an obvious thing in the car to feel that the car is still quite planted.
Well, Anthony's pursuit has been good. He'll come up short. He has reset his own Formula 3 lap record that he set in yesterday's race. So he's going very quickly. You can't help but feel there might be more to come. But it's another win for the championship leader, Tim Macro, from 4th on the grid. Wins race 2 here at Winton Raceway. A very nice drive, and the championship leader just pulls his margin out further in front. Kumar finished that one after spinning mid-race, but it's Macro in front of Anthony and Shields home in 3rd place here at Winton.
Oh, absolutely. We started 4th in that with the reverse top 4 and took a couple of laps to pick my way to the lead, but once I got in the lead, the cold tyre pace of the Alpine Motorsports Solara is really good, and we were able to get a gap and maintain it. It's a hard track to pass around here at Winton, so to pick them off with a couple at the start and then one under brakes down here into the last corner was really good.
So a great drive meant he started from pole in race 3. Unfortunately for Anthony, another stall. He just caught it and got running, but he would drop back to 4th. Those starts are really costing Chris Anthony.
Yeah, and he's got so much work to do now getting through people here on... There we go, another onboard from the second row. You can see how quickly they get on top of that stopped car, and onboard now from Anthony. Again, as soon as he's released the clutch, the light's gone out. He's grabbed the restart incredibly quick, but now he's got all this work to do to catch up to Macro.
So he was behind Roland Leake. He then passed Cameron Shields, and then he chased after Tim Macro. Now we've got something special to show you. This is the fastest ever race lap of Winton Motor Raceway. New outright lap record for Chris Anthony as he chases Tim Macro. So 1 minute 14.3401 breaks the 16-year-old outright lap record at Winton Motor Raceway. A great accomplishment for Chris Anthony. In the end, he just fell short, and Tim Macro took a clean sweep of victories to win round 3 of the Australian Formula 3 Premier Series.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit worse for wear, but I've really got to thank the team. I've got to thank the Alpine Motorsports team. They've done an awesome job. Inside Edge Novata know how, and F2P for their help as well. It's been a really, really good weekend.
So still a lot of racing to go, but a nice lead for the double champ over Chris Anthony, who will be looking to fight back when he gets to home turf at Sydney Motorsport Park for the next round. Roland Leake 3rd and Trent Shervington 4th, looking to come back at the next round of the championship. Cameron Shields extends his margin over Nathan Kumar in the F3 national class. Still plenty of racing to come your way from Winton Motor Raceway. After the break, the sports cars of the Australian Sports Racer Series will hit Winton Motor Raceway. There's a new car that's set to break cover this weekend in the Sports Racer Series, and it's been developed to potentially take on some of the world's best cars in the biggest stages of sports car racing. The West LMP4 Sports Racer is the newest of the West Race Cars fleet, and there's an air of excitement coming from the Adelaide-based manufacturer.
So this is our debut weekend for the new West Sports Racer. It's car number 1 of 1, and so there's still a few unknowns. We've never done a race in it. We've just been out there, did a lot of testing in Thailand, and the car seems to be performing well. It's pretty easy to drive. I'm stuck using a stick shifter, which I don't usually do, so I'm just trying to get used to that. But no, it's an enjoyable thing to drive.
It's completely redesigned suspension. It also includes a third damper, which is sort of, pretty much leading edge suspension design. The drivetrain, so we've moved all the weight to the centre line, so the car is spectacularly, but far better handling. And we've also spent nearly $500,000 in aerodynamic development, so the aero on the car is phenomenal. So the whole package is a much better car to its predecessor.
Welcome back to Winton Motor Raceway as our coverage of the 2016 Shannons Australian Motor Racing Nationals presented by Penrite Oils continues as we move into the second round of the Australian Sports Racer Series. This is one of the most diverse racing categories in Australian motorsport, with a whole range of sports and open wheel cars on the racetrack all at once. We're one round down. It was won by Josh Townsend. He leads the standings ahead of Jason Macris, with Mark Short third, Josh Cranston fourth, and Peter Johnston in fifth place. The defending champ Mark Lauke has got some work to do. Roger Anson qualified on pole on Saturday. He then won the opening race of the weekend from Aaron Steer. This is race 2. Renato Liberto is alongside me in commentary, madly warming up the Kumo Control tyres. Josh Cranston in his F1000 Wings and Slicks racer as we get set for this race. It's a great category. There's so much diversity on the one racetrack.
Absolutely, Kralsing. These cars, it looks like you've got, open wheel cars there in the F1000s. You've got the Wests Radicals and so on in here as well. It is a really, really good mix of cars, and these things are super quick.
This is Aaron Steer, race winner in this category multiple times in the brand new West LMP4. We're underway and racing. Good start from the South Australian Roger Anson back in the category this weekend. That's a slow start for what looked to be Jason Macris. Peter Johnston down the inside in his Radical. Meanwhile, the blue and black number 17 car works his way through. It's a busy field. Lots of races within a race in this category, and lots of cars that produce their speed differently to all the other ones. We'll tell you more about that as the race plays out. But a nice clean start and everyone underway.
The hardest thing in these cars will be, in these conditions being so cold, is trying to, like the F3 cars, develop some tyre temperature so you can then start leaning on it more and more and more, and then start getting that aero grip working. You can see those first 3 cars there, those Wests, super low to the ground, almost no drag in terms of what they've got. The underside of those cars is where all the aerodynamics is really happening.
So that's Ianson out in front, Steer in second, the defending champion Mark Lauke in third place. Then a couple of the Radicals working their way through. Pete Johnston in the grid there, and John Morris celebrating a birthday as well in his brand new Radical SR3 RSX. And John's been over in Europe racing that car, or a similar version of it, and getting plenty of laps lately. Good start from Steer. And that very cool camouflage spec livery on the LMP4 West.
Yeah, it's quite a new car, and obviously they're sort of playing on that, in testing they put those prototype liveries on cars with the sort of the barcode or zebra look to try and confuse the opposition in terms of what they're doing with that car. But there's no doubt about it, that car is super quick.
Yeah, a lot of work going on. It developed a lot out of Asia, that car, and built up there before being brought to Australia. So really multinational enterprise now, West Race Cars Australia. Josh Cranston caught up behind Philip Hughes in his Radical SR3.
This is interesting for me. Phil's actually been my race engineer for a couple of years. He was actually behind our podium at Bathurst 12 Hours, so it's interesting for me to actually be able to critique his driving for once. He's doing a great job there holding off Josh behind, in 2 very different cars. They're going to have different strengths, and, Phil's doing a fantastic job, and so is Josh as well.
And he raced part-time in the championship last year. Phil Hughes, in fact, really his first ever race meetings in the Australian Sports Racer Series, but did a terrific job, and he's now routinely a leading contender of the Radical Brigade that run in this category. The field works their way through. That's John Paul Drake in the WX10 West, the Licorice All Sorts car with the amazing multicoloured livery. Replay of the start.
You can hear that engine as well. So most of these sports racer cars have got some sort of motorcycle-based engine in them. Everything from just under 1,000cc through up to the 1,500cc's, which are in the Radicals, which are based on a Hayabusa engine, 1.3 litre. Then PowerTech take hold of them. It's a big mix, and what that means is different horsepower, but also the way they produce their torque is very different as well.
And this is Cranston in the F1000 car, which were a great addition to the championship last year, and in the hands of a couple of drivers, actually won races outright too. They're a very, very speedy car, and watch for them at Queensland Raceway later in the year. They'll be very competitive. This is Pete Johnston, John Morris, John Paul Drake. Very, very busy little battle going on here. Adam Cranston just in behind. Adam raced his brother Josh in F1000s last year, has moved up into the West race car, the Sports Racer pack this year. So this is a really interesting little battle. So the Radicals have got more grunt, but they're heavier. The Sports Racer's not perhaps quite so quick in a straight line and out of the corners, but they're lighter and they've got plenty of aero. So it's a really interesting little fight to see how these cars match up. And at the moment, it seems like they're doing it really well.
And through this section of corners here, it's not a huge amount of aerodynamics involved at all in these corners. It's all about mechanical grip and how they can put the power down. You see, no one's really got an advantage through there. They're all kind of line astern, just working it through. But when we get onto these straights, as you mentioned, you can see the Radical pulling a decent gap again. So there's going to be this bit of cat and mouse the whole way through the race, I think, with these guys, which is really exciting to watch.
And it's one of the great attributes of this category. 3 times last season, Sports Racer races were decided in what were essentially dead heats, as Pete Johnston locks a brake heading down into turn 11. So the series has this incredible reputation for providing thrilling motor racing. In fact, Queensland Raceway, we had a 3 wide finish for the victory.
Amazing.
Yeah, remarkable stuff. As we see the West go down the outside of Pete Johnston and grab that spot. So lightweight, nimble little West open top cars, probably better under brakes than the heavier Radicals. But it all balances itself out, and down the inside goes Adam Cranston, and he gets that spot as well. Oh, and pointing the wrong direction is car number 5, Josh Cranston.
He's going to have a little bit of dirt on the tyres after that. It will clear off quite quickly, but you can see the car is moving around a little bit after that little spin there.
Let's have a look. He was chasing down Jason Macris. Yeah, just mid-corner.
As I mentioned, just with that mechanical grip, if you don't have the car 100% balanced in terms of the weight over the rear axle, it's just going to want to rotate around. And with the engine being mid-engine or towards the rear with the gearbox as well, there's a lot of weight there, so it does have that pendulum effect of spinning you around.
And the drivers have said about this new surface, as smooth and billiard table lovely as it is, that while it's still building up its rubber and developing as a racetrack, because it's so brand new, it can be a bit two-faced, so you can get to the grip limit, and as soon as you get to it and exceed it, it spins you around quickly. So that you reach the level of grip, and then it's like a finite edge, and the car wants to fire you around. Quite a few drivers in the paddock talking about that over the course of the weekend. As this little in-house Radical battle continues, Pete Johnston under a huge amount of pressure from John Morris.
And you can see that RXC you mentioned, the rear tail lights. It's just a newer generation of the car, more efficient aerodynamics, more efficient electronics in the car, but ultimately it's back down to the same thing. You've got a very, very lightweight car with a high-powered motorcycle-based engine in it and a lot of aerodynamics on the car.
Road leader in the UK, Radicals. Yeah, love to drive one around here. Amazing.
They're amazing, yeah.
Well, Australian roads, I don't think they're quite so good as what the UK's got, so they might be a bit backbreaking. Keep them on the racetrack, perhaps.
And I can't see a kangaroo bar working off the front of one too well.
No, don't think so. So the final lap, the Sports Racers, Roger Anton, there he is out in front. The Ken's exhaust car from Waikerie in the Riverland in South Australia. Great young racing car driver, had a wretched season last year, and it's great to see him back and winning races in the Australian Sports Racer Series. Aaron Steers second, the debut of the LMP4 going very nicely, and the defending champ Mark Lauke made it a West 1-2-3 when he finished third.
Yeah, it's gotten rid of the bumps. I don't know if the overall grip's gone up, but getting rid of those bumps, especially through the sweeper and under the braking zones, has made it a lot nicer to drive, a bit easier on the car, and made the track really enjoyable.
So as we go back and have a look at highlights of race 3 a little bit later on the day, this was a wild motor race, and you'll see why in just a second. Firstly, it all kicked off at turn 1, Renato.
Yeah, you can see the brakes lock in front with one of the Radicals, another one rotates in front. We've got John Morris there, a slight bit of contact through.
So Chris Sutton, this is, in the SR3, just grabs the rears and rotates, and Phil Hughes had to take evasive action and bounce through the undergrowth as well. That wasn't all though. Josh Cranston, turn 3, watch what goes on in front. Jason Macris has a spin, Pete Johnston's involved, that's Mark Lauke off to the left of screen. Cranston goes through, but poor old Josh's day wasn't done with yet. This is a bit later on in the race with 2 recovering drivers, Sutton and Cranston, get stuck into each other, and Cranston is forced to take evasive action once again.
You can see coming through the off-field here, it's just super slippery, being very gentle on the pedal, deep in water. Another car going around in front here, it's just all over the place at the moment. Super slippery as well now.
Peter Vitas that was having the spin, so it was all teeing off, but Out in front, it was Roger Ianson, completely blissfully unaware of all the drama behind. He powered away to his third race win of the weekend and a round victory, a well-earned one at that. Well done, Roger, the round winner for the sports races here at Winton.
This time last year we had an oil surge problem which caused a massive engine failure for us, so we managed to qualify pole but then couldn't take the grid for the first race, so that was really gutting. But we've turned it around since then. We've got a new engine, we're really happy with how it's performing, and we've solved our oil surge issues and onward and upward.
Which is great to see, and he moves to the top of the Sports Racer Series standings now in front of Jason Macros with Peter Johnston in third, Chris Sutton's Radical fourth, and Josh Cranston, despite his dramas, in fifth. Well, that brings our coverage from round 3 of the Shannons Nationals here at Winton to a close. Hope you've enjoyed the show. On behalf of Renato Liberto and our entire team, thanks for watching. Don't forget to head to thenationals.com.au for more information about the Shannons Australian Motor Racing Nationals.